G'day guys, and welcome back to another episode on the podcast. Today we've got an easy little Let Me Chat episode on the agenda. For those of you who don't know what this one is or what the theme of these episodes are, basically it's just going through a month of my life and what's been going on. You guys get to know me on a personal way to an extent, and yeah, just like stuff that I've been thinking about basically. So, I guess, obviously, to start it off, we'll talk about how the podcast is going. I am really enjoying the trajectory that I'm taking this podcast in. I'm starting to enjoy it more than strictly just talking about health. Or, I guess, you could put this into the health category, but I think it's more towards mentality and mindset and that whole kind of, I guess, all those ideologies and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm liking the kind of like less gym and food focus episodes that I did really early on, and I think that's mainly because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to talk about. I knew roughly that I was going to do a lot of episodes about that area of, I guess, expertise that I was pretty knowledgeable on. But I'm very happy with the past few episodes I've been making. I'm testing my own mindset, morals, changing my way of thinking, using stuff in my daily life as examples, and just taking little bits of my own life and things I experience in my life and using that to kind of reflect on and have some sort of, I guess, more meaningful way of thinking. But if you haven't noticed, I'm trying to do a lot of my episodes, like just then, I'm trying to speak more clearly and also stop using so many filler words, because I feel like it just gets a point across a lot easier, and it's really hard. Like, I've just used the word like. I use filler words a lot, especially in person. Like if you talk to me in person, I will say like everyone else does. I just think that I need to stop using them so much. I just need to speak clearer, especially for what I'm doing right now. It's pretty important for me to have a clear description of what I'm talking about instead of just mumbling and going blah, 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 blah. Probably didn't need to hear that whilst you're listening to this, but you get what I'm trying to say. But still on the topic of where this podcast is going, I know that I know and understand a lot about nutrition and training and how to be healthier, what you need to do, what works better, what doesn't work better, what's different for each person, how you can change different aspects of training or nutrition to accommodate it for different people. I know a lot about that stuff. However, I just think that because I'm not qualified to coach anyone, or I don't have any sort of qualifications or accolades or anything of that sort, I just don't feel as if I can keep building on that. I feel like I would need to go through that whole process if I really wanted to, I guess, branch out, and not even branch out, just work further into that kind of realm. I just think that the stuff that I'm talking about now, that I've been doing for the past few weeks, that's focused a lot more on mentality and a lot on mindset. I just think that kind of area and theme of this podcast is a lot easier for me to, I guess, a lot of the time for me to describe. A lot of the time when I'm talking about training or eating, I usually just say what I do and why I do it and how it works for me. I don't actually know the intricacies of how it affects the body, how it changes. I also don't feel like I've realized I'm very uneducated on injuries and recovery and rehab. As you can tell, I've realized I'm very uneducated on that stuff because I was trying to do gym whilst my tendon was recovering and whilst it was ruptured. I was doing bicep curls on the pressure curl, and I would rest the bar on my wrist. And the tendon injury that I've done, my FDP, I didn't really think about it at the time because I just wanted to get a pump, which is pretty, I guess, naive of me. But I just wanted to get a pump, and so I just rested the bar on my wrist. But I didn't realize that your FDP tendon runs from the start of your forearm all the way into the top of your finger. So when you rest something heavy on it, there's a chance that it can just rip straight off the bone. And I didn't realize that until I talked to my hand therapist about it, and she said, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." And I got so scared. I was shitting bricks. And I think, yeah, like that kind of realm, as well as nutrition. Like I know what to eat, what not to eat, why things are better for you than different things. Like I know a lot of the basics and some more advanced stuff, but I feel like I would just get annoyed at myself if someone was asking me for help and I didn't know the answer. Like I would be scared about that. So when I published my big training program, it's in my bio. I published this big training program. It's not even just like training program, nutrition program. It goes through a bunch of really, like, not really bad, like basic stuff and basic knowledge for nutrition and training that you would need to know if you really wanted to make a change in your life. It's a bunch of information that I think everyone should know about, and I thought that would help a lot of people. Obviously, no one bought it, but I was happy with the fact that I put 3 or 4 months of effort into doing something and making a program, or just doing something with myself instead of just sitting around. I could have been wasting so much time with the amount of time that I put into putting that whole program and that whole document together. It's like a 95-page document, I think, of information, and it gives you 3 different training programs depending on your availability of gym equipment, and also 2 nutrition programs, I'm pretty sure. I didn't really promote it well, honestly. My promotion of it was pretty shocking, and it's fair enough, because who's going to trust a 19-year-old who's in somewhat above average shape than the majority of people and thinks he knows everything? I completely get it. But I would be scared if someone asked me a question about anything related to that and I didn't know the answer. That's what actually scares me. But on the topic of training and whatnot, I've decided, since I can't really kick a footy until start of January, so I've still got a lot of time to go, I thought, why not be the best time to start training for a marathon? So myself and my good friend Lockie Jerry, who's also doing social media, he's doing YouTube at the moment, doing a lot of vlogs, and he called me up and we were just chatting away, and he said, "Oh, so what are you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, just sitting around training for a marathon." He's like, "What? No one says that casually. Like, someone has to bring it up as much as they possibly can when they're training for a marathon." Because I'm not doing like an event. I'm just literally going down to the Mornington Peninsula, going to my auntie and uncle's beach house, and I'm just going to run 21Ks up, 21Ks back. It sounds a lot easier than it actually is. I'm doing a fair bit of training for it. I'm doing 3 training sessions a week and a bike session as well, to be able to prepare for the ridiculous amount of Ks that I have to run. And then he said, "Oh, I'll do it with you." I was planning to do a half marathon with my mate down in Perth, because he's living in Perth at the moment. And he said, "I'll do it with you." And I was like, all right. Took a little bit of convincing, but it didn't go as smoothly as that. But I managed to convince him to do it with me. So he thinks that he's going to be able to do a half marathon and then 3 weeks later do a full marathon, which I'm like, I mean, if he trains enough for it, if he does a lot of running beforehand and he gets used to running near that distance, he can just put it as a part of his training for a marathon, honestly. Because you have to, when I trained for my half marathon last year, I didn't realize that you have to get really close to the full half marathon length to be comfortable with running a half marathon. So like my longest run before a half marathon was 18 Ks and the half marathon's 21. So when I get to the full marathon, I think I'm going to try and reach mid or low 30 Ks. Mid or low 30s I'd be happy to get. Low 30s I'd be happy. Mid 30s I'd be ecstatic because full marathon's 42. So if I get to like 34 Ks, 35 Ks, I do not care. I'm either seeing God or I'm finishing that bloody marathon, because I don't even have my book with me, but I've got a bunch of goals I set to do this year, and running a marathon was one of it because I did the half last year. And so I've already done a few of my goals from this year, and some came about early in the year, some came about midway through the year. This one's coming about at the very end of it. I'm running this just before Christmas, and hopefully we'll have enough time to celebrate. I'd love to stay down there for a couple nights and have a couple beers, celebrate running a marathon, because that would be sick. One thing now, I feel like my frontal lobe's starting to develop, because now I just want to travel. And obviously everyone wants to travel, but I really want to like study abroad with uni. And it was funny, like I was debating on the fact to do it or not, because one of my really good mates, Riley, he already went in for meetings. He did the online abroad meeting with our university, and he's already planned like when he wants to go, roughly whereabouts he wants to go. Doesn't know what uni, but he's got a better idea than me. And I was literally walking my dog, and then I ran to an old friend from my old school, or from the school I graduated from, and we were just chatting about what we want to do, and he was saying like, "Oh, like you traveling much?" And I was like, "Nah, I've got no money. I'm broke. I'm actually broke. I've got barely enough money to pay for my appointments for my hand." And he asked what Riley's doing. I was like, "Oh yeah, Riley's thinking about studying abroad in 2027." And he's like, "Yeah, that's so smart. Like, get it in whilst you can. Like, just goes towards your HECS, and you don't have to worry about when you're 25 trying to find leave to be able to go to Europe." And when he said that, I was like, shit, I don't want to be stuck at a 9 to 5 working my ass off to then have to work for so long to be able to get enough leave to be able to go away. Like, that idea to me sucked, and that conversation just immediately just clicked in my head like, yep, okay, I'm going to do uni abroad in that year. And the only downside really is that I have my 21st whilst I'm over there. But then again, like, I was never planning to do anything for my 21st. I don't really like celebrating my birthday that much. I'd rather just have a couple mates over and then we just go to a pub or go out somewhere. Just do something not super over the top, because I just can't be bothered like having a whole party and whatnot. Like, a 21st are fun as. I've only been to one, but from my experience and from my experience with 18s, like, they will be fun as, because it's just like an 18th, but you're older and there's more drugs around. That's literally all it is. Like, not to beat around the bush. Not like I do any drugs. I promise, Mum, I don't do any drugs. But that's literally all they are, and they'd be fun as. So I've already thought about it. Like, most of my mates' birthdays come across towards midway to the end of the year, and a lot of them happen as well before I would go away to study abroad. So most of the time that I'll be away, I won't really miss that many birthdays. I'll miss my own with my family. But I think I'll be fine, honestly. And I didn't even realise, but I thought Riley was going in the second trimester. I'm going to go in the first trimester. So he told me today that he's going the first trimester. So I just heard him wrong. So we'll be going at the same time. So if I can be bothered, I'll go visit him. But I don't know if I can stand it for that long. I need a break from him. That's a joke. I'll just shut the fuck up. But other than that, really, throughout the past month, I've just been dealing with this hand. The hands, it's alright. Like, I saw my hand therapist today, and she said, like, it's a lot better than the last week. The last week was pretty bad. My finger's just stiff. Pause. My finger is just really, like, stuck in place. And it would take a lot of work for it to start gliding properly. Because I still can't really bend the top of my finger really well, but what can you do? I've come to the fact that if I can't make a fist properly with that finger bending down, I'm not going to be super mad about it, because it was my fault that I'm in this position because I waited the 2 weeks, which is the vital period when you should get the surgery. I waited just over 2 weeks to get the surgery because I wanted to play in a grand final. And that's pretty stupid because we lost the grand final, but imagine if we won. Oh my God, if we won. That would have been so good. But I can't do much about it now. I can just sulk as much as I want, but it won't change what's happened in the past. But yeah, that brings us to the end of the episode. There really isn't much to it this week. Sorry, for this episode. Really isn't much to it from this month. But hopefully I'll come back with a few better stories than this that I can actually tell. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys are enjoying the trajectory of where the podcast is going in now. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode.